everyone, Karen the Warp Spinster here. Welcome to my channel, and thank you truly for spending some time with me. I have been through, I think now, 4 ideas for what I was going to do today. I abandoned one of them and decided I would do something completely different, and then I had a dream last night and I thought, that's it. And I woke up and thought, all right, I'm ready to, what was it that I thought was so good? It was not that great. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but not that great, as is often true of ideas I have in the middle of the night. So I changed my mind back to what I was going to do the first time and pulled out some fabrics, and nope, because, and I was trying to use things from my scrap stash and that wasn't working. So I went downstairs to look for something and I found this piece, obviously stuffed into a bin that is left over from something else I did sometime or other. So I just can't not use. I mean, look at a piece that size. So then I pulled some fabrics that could work with that, and there's an even brighter pink. Not sure about that. Again, the color, it's all those colors are throwing the camera off. And then of course some black and whites. My theme here is go big or go home. And then of course some plain black and white. So I don't really know what I'm doing except riffing off of this piece. So there's going to be a curve or two here. Obviously, I want to put in some straight lines, and you know, I just don't know. I'm just kind of, after having gone through 4 or 5 ideas, I'm just going to wing it. And as always, I make no promises about how this is going to turn out. I'm truly grateful that you stick through me with all of this, because sometimes I just don't know how you do it. So I'm going to start out with something to match that curve, and I do have some fabric in my scrap bin this color, but it just didn't fit with the other fabrics that I pulled. So I'm going to have to make this curve, so I have to have a piece that's long enough to do that. So this one isn't really wide enough to do that, although this I would probably trim off anyways, so that's a possibility. I have a big old piece of, looks like a fat quarter, of an orange here that I could use. That'll keep you safe on the road at night, won't it? And I also have this pink. I might go with that pink first. Yeah, let's go with this pink first. And then some of these others that are too narrow or too short we can use for other things. So I'm going to press this piece, and then I am going to cut a curve out of the pink that will match this. So this is the same as my usual curve thing. I'm going to use this as a template and cut this. And then, so the curve, again, I will put the video where I talk about sewing curves, put a link in the description below, so you don't have to sit through that for the umpteenth time. So I will press this, get that ready to go, and come back with the result, unless it's really bad, and then I'll come back with something different. Now, of course, this waist piece, cut off piece, will be a shape that I will stumble upon at a later date in my style. I can do something with that. All right, so now I'm going to sew this. Just a couple of words about this particular curve. This is a pretty steep curve here, so I went slowly. Usually I can take a few stitches as I'm coming around a curve before I stop and adjust, but I did this every couple of stitches on this part here. I usually don't clip curves, but this is steep enough that I did do some clipping at that curve so that it would lie more flat. All right. So now what are we going to do? good question. I think I'm going to trim this off and then, let me zoom out a little bit here, and then do something on this side maybe. Maybe we'll do something black and white, maybe. Nothing else. We'll get rid of those tails that are making me a little unhappy. Okay. And so do we want to do something, you know, we could do another, put something on and do another piece to make it like a teardrop shape. I seem to default to leaf shapes a lot, so I have to think about whether I want to do that. You know, if it makes me happy, why not? That's my philosophy today. If it makes me happy, I'm gonna do it. I have some black and white prints here I can use. I could, of course, use solid black. Or solid white for that matter, but let's go with this. And I'm just going to cut a strip that is not necessarily very straight, because it doesn't have to be. We're just improvising, as it were. Well, I want it to be straight, just not parallel to the other edge. Okay, it could of course have a little bit of curve to it. It's maybe wider than I want, but we shall see. So I'm just going to put a seam in it, and we'll go from there. Now, I'm thinking maybe I could bring this piece back in. So this would be a teardrop or leaf shape, but I could also do this, which would be a bit more unexpected. Give it a different sort of line. But I need something to match that curve. I could bisect it, or trisect it, or quadsect it with strips, but I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to, so I need to find a piece over here. And you know what I kind of wish I had done? I could still do is piece this with just some plain white. And then we'll do that on the next one. Okay, so now I have to find a piece that will, maybe I'll do a black and white. I don't know. Or I could do this green. It will be large enough. And I know I had somebody comment once that I should press my fabrics ahead of time, and I should have my directions all figured out ahead of time. I was like, yeah, kind of not what I do. So sorry about the wrinkles. I will, and the folds, I will take care of them. So what do I want to do? Do I want to do that, or do I want to do maybe a white dominant, black and white this time? This one is certainly brighter. Is that what I want? For the moment, yes. We can always, as we're putting whatever pieces are going here, we could always make them a little more restful. There's not a lot of print going on here, so it's just the bright colors, which I love. But they also sometimes can be a little overwhelming. So these may end up just being bands of color going through. I don't know yet. All right, I'm going to cut and sew this curve, and we'll come back and take it from there. I really need to start making smaller pieces that will fit in the camera frame. I've finished this seam, and I've decided that I want this to be narrower. but I want to add a little interest here, so I'm going to insert some white strips into this before I sew this on. In fact, I may not sew this on yet because I have to figure out what I'm going to do with that stuff. But first I'm going to do this, insert the white strips and sew that back onto there, see where we are then. One of the advantages of this is that I get to use up all my small scraps from my scrap drawer. Now my question, and I will true that up, of course, these were purely random slices into this and random width of slits in there. So I'm wondering if I want a plain white strip in there, which would, it's kind of nice to have this transition in here, so I think maybe I don't. I will trim this up, stitch it onto that, and we'll take it from there. That's much better. Adds interest to it and gives a little bit of texture in there that I like. And this is at an angle, not parallel lines there, which also adds a bit of interest, very subtle. I think I do want to sew this piece on now and then work on whatever we have left, because I'm not sure that I want to do sort of nested curves here. Maybe, maybe not. But I want to put this together. We're improvising, so I'm just doing it step by step, and I will work with whatever I get in the end. And here we have a piece that is sort of squared up. This is at an angle. Angle of the camera probably masks it a bit. It's quite a bit of an angle. And I'm going to leave it that way. I don't necessarily want a square or rectangular block, so I'm going to leave it that way. What I think I want to do next is just keep making a few sort of leaf shapes. Some of them maybe black and white, positive and negative. I have this piece of green left from this that I could also do another block that will appear. So it will end up being a quilt made up of a lot of leaf blocks, and I can do embellishments later on. You know, some circles are probably coming in here somewhere. And I'm thinking perhaps black and white vines, that once the blocks are sewn together, that the vines could wind through. Got some work ahead of me. This is going to be not quite like Alice, but need to do some more pieces. These, I'm not sure. I'm going to leave all of this space. I'm not entirely sure that I want that, but I'm going to leave it so it leaves my options open until I figure out the rest of what I want to do. So I will make some smaller leaves, I think, that might go, they might actually be sort of not straight up and down. Like this one doesn't need to be either, actually. But since I have this extra, I can do what I want with that later. This I can, again, create another one of this size. So I want a variety of scale, which means that I can have some large ones, but I also need some smaller and medium ones. And then we can sort of start to put them together. So I'm going to do just a couple of smaller leaf shapes and see how they look in the whole scheme of things. You know, we never quite know how it's going to work out. This has been okay. This is too much blank space. So I would either want to put in some stitching in here, or maybe a piece of bias strip going there. If I did, I think I would want it to also wind outside it. Or I could release some stitches and tuck it underneath so it stays within the leaf shape, but we'll see. So I'm going to work on a couple more leaf-shaped smaller ones, and it's just the same process that I've been doing here. This one I might wait for a little while to do that, but small leaves coming up. I think I'm going to call this Gumball Gumbo or something. It's quite bright, but I like bright. Sometimes we just have to work that in. I'm not sure I would use this particular stripe strip, but it's one that I happen to have at hand. So there could be various ways to bring this into the picture, and as I add more, then there would be, I'm not sure I like that, at least not at this point. I've got a side over here that could use some filling in, so I could do something like that, or another fabric. I was thinking gold fabric over here. I don't have any of this gold at hand at the moment, but then you know circles are bound to come into it, so I've got a few here just to kind of get the flow of the whole thing. Or we could have it turn off in this direction, in which case I think I'd want to switch those around maybe. Maybe not. Kind of liking it going this way. And then if I have more up there, then it can move forward. I don't really see what I would be doing with this at this point, though it's possible. Maybe I'll switch these out. That one's too close to its own dot. It would be like a selfie. And I might want those to be a little smaller as they go up too. So that's sort of where we're at. I would like to do some that are possibly even smaller down here. And I don't know, these gumballs, I'm almost thinking I like, these are just a little bit, I want to say vapid. This is actually used in here, so that's not so bad, but this is a little bit too light, so I might do one with, say, this, so that I'm pulling in. Just do a quick, not quite circle here. Then that would help to pull in that particular color and fabric, which will always help to tie things together. I could also find some solid colors, of course, down in my solid stash. That isn't really even close to a circle, but I might want to swap that out here to bring that, sort of tie that together better here. That's a really bad circle. So I think what I will plan to do further with this is to make some more smaller leaves, I'm going to call them, and that will, then we can add, I'm thinking even a couple of really small ones that are marching vertically across here, which I think would be pretty good too. So that will be it for today, I think, for Gumball Gumbo. And next week, I don't know, you heard what it was like for me this week. I don't know what I will do, but something, maybe some more on this, some smaller leaves, maybe I will start to add in, I don't know, 4 patches or checkerboards or something. I don't know, we'll see. But for now, this is Karen and Gumball Gumbo signing out for today. I hope I will see you next week. In the meantime, be well, be safe, be happy, be quilting. Peace out.